Allen, a violent vertical edge setter.
I see some ass on this. Give that mindset to put your shoulder on somebody.
Dig, drop. You're finished.
Hey, first down. This is a weird kid. Worse than that, sorry.
Blown in the name of all that is good and decent. No more for today.
Well, if that wasn't a complex,
satisfying,
hold on, intro, I don't know what is, man. I got to figure out some better systems. But I am GreenBean. I am so happy to be here. I'm happy that I forced myself to wake up and do all this. And I am even more excited to bring on my partner in this very specific venture we're trying right now, reaching out to the other countries with the Jetsfan thing. Let's say hello to Jeremy Cravat. How you doing this morning, my friend?
We're good. It's early.
So it's 7 a.m. over there? Is that what it is?
It is 7 a.m., 3 hours behind.
Yeah. So John Rogers just put his kid to bed an hour ago. He's down there in Australia. And then we have me that it's 10 a.m. here, which is, it's Saturday, so it could be construed as being early, but at the same time, it's not. So, but it's still morning. And then we have you, 7 a.m. That's dedication, man.
I can hear the roosters.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny, Jeremy? I actually have roosters where I'm staying. They're here, and I don't know if people know this. There's a little thought that roosters, like they say, they let you know the sun is up, right? That's horseshit. Roosters crow all day long. That's what they do. They never stop. They never stop. So I don't know where that came from. But I guess it's just most annoying in the morning. That's
when you notice it. It's kind of like construction, when there's construction going on in your neighborhood. You notice it that first weekend morning when you didn't have to get up early for work. And you're like, you're in bed, you're thinking you're going to sleep in, and then you hear.
So look, we have Paul Boy Green Esden Jr. in the house. He's saying, good morning, Paul. What are you doing up so early, my friend? I bet he's writing his next article right now. I read one. What was it? Just yesterday, I read an article. What? Oh, it was about the tight ends. The tight ends. Paul was bringing up he was talking about Jay Sternberger in particular, which happens to be somebody that I loved coming out. I knew we wouldn't take a tight end by the third round. I was hoping that Jay slid to the fourth, so maybe we would consider it, but he was gone. And he's already cut from the Green Bay Packers. But I think he was actually just signed to Seattle's practice squad. He's a guy that I really like him, and I was keeping an eye on. But it's an interesting way to start the day, man. What do we can talk about tight ends a little bit right after we say hello. Let's say hello to some others. But look what he's saying here. Cock-a-doodle-doo, boys. He's right in with the rooster talk. We got Jeff Otis Brown in the house. Jets forever. Our UK buddy Phil Adams is here. We got Captain Techno from Ireland is here. We have Martin Shilton from Germany. John Rogers from Australia. Garrett Ham from Hamburg. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know where he's from. I think he's in the United States.
Mr. Tudor.
Yeah. So we have the whole crew. Jeff Otis Brown is here. Brian Farrell is here. And obviously Paul Boy Green Esden and alongside of Mr. Tudor. So let's see. How did I know, Greenbean? Because I read your stuff. See, it's funny. You know how people, Jeremy, everybody goes, oh yeah, man, I love your work. People say that constantly. And then if you take the leap and go, oh yeah, what was your favorite thing? A lot of times they don't know. They're just telling you, hey, I love they're just doing the thing. Hey,
right.
They're doing the thing. With Paul Boy Green Esden, it's funny, when we were talking, I let him know how big of a fan of his I was. And then I proved to him by talking about the things that he's doing. He goes, wait a second, you actually listen, huh? I'm like, yeah. Like, I actually love Boy Green. I've been listening for a long time. Before I even came on, I was still like with Jetnation. I was really into Boy Green, and it's so cool that he's here. But yeah, man, I couldn't enjoy Paul's stuff more, honestly.
Well,
And I don't know. Go on.
Sorry, Paul's going to get used to having to be up in the morning, right? I mean, for what's coming, he's going to be, it's 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. will be. You'll dream of days when getting up at 10 a.m. felt like you were getting up early.
Yeah. Let me tell you, Paul, he's so right, because you don't know what tired is. I mean, like, it's so funny whenever I hear people that are single or just don't have kids, they go, "Oh, I'm so busy," or "I'm so tired." Like, they're every married with kids, or even just with kids, every parent just secretly in their brain, every time that is said by a single person with no kids, "I'm tired" or "I'm busy," they just go, "Fuck you." That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. But it's all worth it. That's cool. Jeremy, do you have kids? I don't even know if I know this about you.
No, I have 440 kids.
There you go. There you go.
In a school, but no, we don't have kids. So that's why whenever but just from watching my brothers raise their kids, I'm always very careful. I never complain in front of parents about busy schedules and things like that.
That's right. See, Jeremy is, we call that an astute observer, sensitive. If you're considerate of others, you can be sensitive to those things and not walk through the world with everybody secretly saying, "Go to hell, you jerk off," while they're smiling at you, So Jeremy, that's good, man. So, but that's cool. Jeremy, as we know, is a vice principal of an elementary school out there in Sacramento. So, fine work, my friend. My vice principals were, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll be nice and say jerks. That's what they were. They were mean. But so let's get into some Jets. I want to thank everybody for being here. As we know, this is New York Jets Worldwide, GreenBean and Jeremy Crevette from the Calmness and Chaos Show. Or am I saying that backwards? I always feel like I'm saying it backwards.
I think it's calmness meets chaos.
Calmness meets chaos on the. Yeah, well, I know you would think you'd know. I feel bad that I don't feel confident, and then there's you, right? But that's on Frankie from Flatbush's channel, and I gotta say, I couldn't like that channel more. Frankie just put out a really good video that I watched last night. What was it? DVOA, maybe. I forget. It all smears together, but it's really good. You guys should go over there and check it out. But this is our olive branch to our friends that are Jets fans in other countries. I know we're not doing so well with Down Under. I know it's probably even later for you. But this is our attempt at communicating with you guys at a time that's a little bit better for you than the 8 p.m., 9 p.m. live streams that we generally do. So we're happy that you guys are here. So I wanted to use Paul of Boy Green's article to get started. I think it's a good place. So let's talk about the tight ends. They have been, in large part, disappointing so far, whether it's the lack of receptions or some blocking issues. What do you think, Jeremy? Are we going to entertain maybe bringing in another tight end, or you think we're just kind of moving forward with the guys that we have, and it'll improve as the system gets absorbed by our players? Where do you see it?
Well, I think we last year a 2-14 team, and we had a lot of holes and a lot of things to fill, and there's no way to do it in one off season. And that was one of the positions that they ignored for now as this part of the rebuild. I don't think they completely ignored it, but they, obviously didn't just go out very hard and address the issue. I don't know if we would sign somebody. I think that depends on the development of Kenny Yeboah on the practice squad. We're not seeing the reps. We're not seeing what he's doing. So if we signed a tight end and brought in someone new, that means it probably means he hasn't yet convinced anybody there that he's ready. So it's really determined on that. Like, we don't know. He might be having amazing practices, and they might be really excited and say he's a couple of weeks away, or it could be, this guy has got a full year of this, and let's hope he's ready even next year. We don't know.
Right. Yeah, and that's interesting. So I think, it's sometimes, though, Jeremy, it can just be that a major opportunity presents itself. And I use the example of Jay Sternberger, which was in the heavy.com article that Boy Green wrote. recently. Jay Sternberger, the fact that he got released is kind of interesting. Like he was injured his first year. I've been keeping tabs on this guy. He was one of the guys, as you guys know, I love tight ends, but he was one of the guys I kept an eye on. But like an opportunity presents itself, and maybe you just switch gears to be able to take that on. But I think, as I look at Tyler Kroft, Ryan Griffin, and Daniel Brown, remember Daniel Brown is really a Brant Boyer player. Like he's there for his special teams contribution. So I don't think, we'll see him moved around too much for that reason. But Tyler Kroft and Ryan Griffin, they have received a lot of reception, or a lot of attempts have been heading their way. And sadly, they haven't done too much with them. Now, some of it's on Zach Wilson. Some of it is on some drops. Ryan Griffin had a few drops. Tyler Kroft had a drop. But I think what we're seeing is, just like we saw with the offensive line, we're seeing guys that are taking a minute to really absorb this system and kind of play without thinking, which everyone knows. If you're thinking while you're playing, that's where mistakes happen. If you have to think about where you're supposed to be, think about the, what's going to happen, as opposed to just fluidly moving through it. A lot of times that's where we see mistakes. So you don't really see us bringing anybody in. You think maybe Kenny Yeboah might get bumped up midseason, kind of a thing, but you think we're going to move forward with Tyler Kroft and Ryan Griffin?
I mean, I think for now, it's hard to know. It's hard to know if they, what they're thinking in their minds. I mean, their plan might be, let's just develop what we have. Let's act order the receivers, play with what we have, get a year of experience in the system, come into next year with the system, then maybe in the draft we'll address it, start bringing in like the cream and the sugar, right? But I don't think if it was urgent at all to them, they would have done it already. It wouldn't shock me if they signed somebody, but it would be a little bit like, I would only be disappointed in the sense that if they sign someone, it means that Yeboah is not really impressing. Because I'm kind of hoping that within the next few weeks, he gets activated for a game. And maybe that's going to be a sign that he's playing really well in practice, and we're going to get to see him and see what he can do.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning where you are as well. And now Eric Morgan pops in and says, I doubt JD plans to address tight end this year. There's nobody really available worth having. We'll have to suck it up. And I think we're all kind of on the same page. A guy like Jay Sternberger, popping free. And Jordan Matthews was out there too. He switched to tight end, and it didn't work out. The first team that tried it with him, I do forget where that was. I want to say Chicago, but I don't feel like that's right. But so we have a couple guys out there, but are they really upgrades? And just like you said, Zach is developing continuity. We don't want to start moving the pieces too much while he's developing stuff. These are the guys that are there. And more than likely, this is what we're going to see. And like you alluded to, we do still have Kenny Yeboah on the practice squad. And I, as well, am hoping that he can get bumped up at some point. But thanks for checking in, everybody. We got Sun Moonrise 31. Best regards from Germany. Really appreciate that you care for Jetsnation International. Well, thank you, man. If I can be completely frank, Jeremy and I were talking about some of this stuff, and that this was his idea. So that's why I allowed him to be on here with me, because it's his idea. What do you think of that, Jeremy? You're a good dude. He appreciates you. So we appreciate you acknowledging that, man. And look, the thing is, Jeremy and I have had numerous conversations, as have some others. We're really blown away by the amount of Jets fans that we're seeing in Europe and Australia and New Zealand. And we have that guy from Malaysia and with so many guys, Ireland. It's really impressive. Now, Sun Moon, we'll move on, but I want to throw this to you. Are you also a fan in Germany because of Kevin James? Jeremy, I'm finding out that most of them have Kevin James in their story. Did you know this?
I didn't. That's interesting.
It is interesting. We're finding out that most of the fans in Germany, in Germany, in Deutschland, have it, I guess King of Queens was a big show out there. So Kevin James had a major impact on the German fans, and they said, you know what, if I'm going to pick an NFL team, I might as well jump on with that guy. Isn't that incredible?
Amazing. That's amazing.
It is.
That's great.
It's so cool. So we'll dovetail the tight end thing with the running backs. Now, a lot of us, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this, Jeremy. A lot of us, when we were shaping the roster, there was quite a few little mini debates where the running backs are concerned. One was LaMichael Pirine versus Josh Adams. Everybody kind of put those two against each other. Some people were very unhappy that we did choose LaMichael Pirine, then he gets hurt and the whole thing. But where I was having issue is I was saying that while I like Tevin Coleman, the way I see it is that he should not be the one taking the roster spot from Josh Adams, and that he more than likely, with all respect in the world and all hope, that he more than likely wouldn't make it through the season, and then we could potentially use young legs. So now Tevin Coleman is injured, and one of the few players that is listed as out for this week. You see that? That was my inadvertent. I don't know where that came from. I just did it. I didn't think about it. Out. It's my new single. So how do you feel about all this? You know, with Tevin Coleman being out, we did see the guys, Johnson and Carter look pretty good last week. What are you thinking that we'll see this week? And how do you feel about the Tevin Coleman thing, Jeremy?
Well, I mean, we were saying it all offseason. That was one of the things I felt very strongly about is, first of all, why would they jeopardize and risk Josh Adams walking or going somewhere else? I mean, if they're not protecting him each week in the practice squad, you can only protect so many. They've been putting him in jeopardy for a guy that is no chance of being part of our future, right? For like, we're rebuild. We're a few years away, a couple of years away. So right from that perspective, I was like, why would you risk losing a younger player? And then after the first game, it was like, now why are you giving him more of the reps, and why are we not looking more at Michael Carter and seeing what we have? And then it was nice to see the reversal in week 2, like, right. And then it was like our explanation point on what we were saying. Because he got more reps, we got to see who Michael Carter was a little bit last week, and that we might have something very special. And that was exactly why. And sure enough, of course, I noticed it also. Coleman already out, just like I thought, just like we were saying. Here's a guy who's not going to make it. What I'm interested in is, does that mean they're going to activate Josh Adams this week, or is Pirine healthy enough to play? You're on mute, buddy.
Thank you, because my dog is barking. I didn't want to ruin what you were saying, but I think a lot of Jets fans are right in line with what you're saying, Jeremy. And look, nobody's rooting for Tevin Coleman to be injured. They're comfortable with him. Mike LaFleur's been at 3 stops with him. It's all great to kind of have that bridge between, the success that Mike LaFleur comes from to the new team with the young running backs, and Tevin Coleman can provide. It's all great, but we knew that more than likely, I thought by week 6 to 8, we would start to see him wear down. It's now week 3. And I'm pretty sure he didn't play much last week because it was already there, the injury. So, but the exciting part is that we're going to see these guys get to play. And I think Josh Adams, who was on the 53 now, but he just hasn't dressed. He's been one of the inactives. Maybe we'll get to see him as well. That would be a nice 3-headed monster, man. To see, Ty Johnson, Michael Carter, and Josh Adams. And I'm dying for LaMichael Pirine to get in, because not for nothing, guys, he's the best pass blocker that we have in the running back stable. And that's something that a lot of fans overlook. Like, Pirine is a steady Eddie. Like, that's what he is. He's not going to give you that same explosion that Michael Carter gives you, but he's good. He knows how to get yards. He's a fall forward guy. He gets, 4 or 5 a clip when he gets to the line of scrimmage, and he can protect Zach Wilson, where Ty Johnson and Michael Carter have had some difficulty there. So I think that's going to be really exciting. Are you looking for Josh Adams to get activated? Do you think that's real, or is it a pipe dream?
No, I don't think it's a pipe dream. If Pirine's not ready, we like to go through 3-man committee. Why wouldn't they activate him? He's never done anything but perform when they've called on him. I will say that Frankie last night was saying, and it could be just a fluke. It may have been based on just a few plays or a few opportunities, but Michael Carter actually scored very high on pass protection blocking with PFF. Now, I don't know if it was a fluke. because he said that, we don't know how many plays it was based on, but he did score really high. So there might be potential that Michael Carter will develop as a good pass protection running back.
Nothing would be better news, because when you can have one player on the field for more scenarios, that is optimal. Because what ends up happening is when you bring on certain personnel, the defense can have a good idea of what to expect, and you want to get away from that wherever you can. Like week 1, I know we did a pretty deep dive. There was a lot of very few selection of plays out of specific personnel groups. Like when they had certain personnel groups on the field, they ran certain plays. So being able to run 4, 5, 10 plays out of a specific personnel group, that's when you start to catch the defense on their heels. They don't know what's happening. So if Michael Carter can improve in his pass blocking, oh my God, that would be optimal. Best case scenario, because in my opinion, he should be the bell cow back, while still having a nice dose of the other guys and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
So we have a request here. I saw this from Braden, a good friend of ours, Braden Bethwaite, also from down under. He says, "Morning, fellas. Morning, fellas. Hey, can you do me a favor? Say happy birthday to my daughter, Harriet. She's 5 today. She says you're Santa, GreenBean. You know what, Braden, before we do sing, and I think that would be okay, right, Jeremy? We can.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think we'll even sing happy birthday. So I want to say that I think I'm going to let this grow from now until December so I can get a job as a Santa Claus. What do you guys think of that? I want to go to the mall and be the guy.
That'd be the best. That'd be the best.
Wouldn't it? So Harriet, in many respects, I'm one of Santa's helpers. That's why I'm doing this. So I want to be able to help out Santa Claus, because as we know, he has a lot of work to do coming up to Christmas and all that. So he needs help, and that's what I'm going to do. So why don't we sing happy birthday to Harriet, Jeremy? I think that would be nice. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Harriet. Happy birthday to you.
You're 5.
5 years old. It's a big one. Now, I couldn't tell if maybe we were on a little bit of a delay there, or if you were just really Sinatra-ing that thing up. I don't know.
I think we just lost 10 viewers, but no, I actually, you know what? I just wrote a very quick, I wrote a song for Harriet too, another birthday song. You'll love this.
Go ahead.
Hey, Harriet, this birthday song is just for you. This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. So, what do you think about wide receivers this week? GreenBean.
What's that?
I said, what do you think about wide receivers this week? That was just kind of joking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know. Yeah, that was short. Well, Harriet, happy birthday. And Braden, I hope you guys enjoyed the day. 5 is a big one, man. It's an important one. And I wish you nothing but happiness. So Garrett Ham says that Ty Johnson has missed so many blocks. He is a liability to Zach, in my opinion. And that's the unfortunate part about it, is when you put, so in other words, when you put Ty Johnson on the field, one of 2 things is going to occur from a defensive perspective. They're running it, or we have an opportunity because he's poor in pass protection. So it sucks. And that's why a guy like Ty Johnson might be the journeyman that he is in many respects. Clearly talented as a ball carrier.
Right. But it really puts us in a bad position schematically, because it's the other team could, whoever we're playing, the opponent can just say, okay, we know if he's in the game, let's prepare for the run. Let's focus on the run. And if we're wrong, it'll be okay, because he doesn't pass protect very well. So we'll get to their quarterback and we'll pressure Zach. I mean, so it's a big issue, because it gets to a point where, like, the only way you feel comfortable bringing him in is if you're handing him the ball. But the problem is then the defense knows that. So
yeah. So I think our running game, the fact that our running game improved drastically from week 1 to week 2 is a positive sign. And this is the thing, our overarching mindset here, Jeremy, really should be we are watching a young team develop. Like, so there's a big difference between a throwaway garbage year, McCown starting at quarterback, no receivers, kind of a bunch of older dudes that we just filled the roster with. Then there, between that and what we're doing, which is we let the older guys go. We said we are digging in deep with young personnel. We got extra draft picks. We went all kinds of deep with linebacker, cornerbacks, all this sort of stuff. And we put them all on the field. So watching that development from week 1 to week 2 is really a good indicator of what we should be seeing week to week. And we'll have our dips and everything. But do you see that like the progress from week 1 to week 2, and we can keep it to running game first? Do you think that's a sign of things to come, or do you think we just played a little bit less less able of a team as far as run defense goes from the Patriots to the Panthers? What do you see moving forward? Do you think we should have hope because of that improvement?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely development. I mean, we played so bad against Carolina, as good as their defensive line is. There's no question that you could look, there was less confusion. There's no doubt that the offensive line as a unit played better. Part of it could have been we had some more extra success than we would have because the defensive line that we're going against wasn't as tough against the run. But we certainly could look and see, if you watch back the game and watch back in week 1, it didn't matter who we were playing. They were just completely missed assignments, missed blocks, right? It was we saw that kid pointed out. I mean, there's like offensive linemen standing around not doing anything. And in week 2, you didn't see that as much with the running game, right? You saw that there was, as a unit, they were more cohesive. And the way I'm looking at the whole season is it's like more important on Sunday than the win or the loss is the things that we should be looking at is, does Zach rebound? How does Zach come back from that game? Number 2, we should be looking at, this is the first time I think our secondary is really going to be tested. I think they're going to be tested more than the first 2 games. So now we get to see Bryce Hall, and can he stand up to this bigger test? And Eccles, can he stand up to this bigger test? And in a rebuild season, this is what's more important about those wins and those losses. It's about what you're saying, the development. Is it happening? Are we moving in the right direction? Because we don't want it to be just a wasted year where next year we're just trying to revamp and rebuild the whole roster again. We want to start checking off some boxes and saying, okay, we got this position taken care of. This is taken care of. This is taken care of. And next year we can build and stack on that. That's what our coaches love to say, stacking, right? So we want to be able to stack onto something.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully said, man. I mean, and that's the key. Like Jeremy and I had a little chat right before we went on, and we just said, a lot of people are kind of jumping off already. Like they're already washing the season, which is really unfortunate because granted, we all wanted to win, especially against Sam Darnold and Bill Belichick. I mean, who wouldn't want to win those games just from a personal standpoint? But the truth is that our coaching staff is not getting caught up in those little miniature, short-term battles. It's not their goal. So granted, they're trying to win as well and everything, but what we're really working on is development of young players and young coaching staff and a young organization. For once, everything around us is young, fresh, and new. Everything. And that includes the quarterback position. So I think it's so incredibly important to stay on board and watch, just like what Jeremy said. Look, out of nowhere, our cornerbacks look like one of the strengths of the team. Let's see how they play against Denver. Denver's been pushing the ball down the field a little bit more. Denver has some real quality in their offensive weapons. Let's see what we can do. And here's the great thing. Let's say Bryce Hall has a little bit of a bad game. It doesn't mean he sucks. It just means this is what we're doing with him this year. We're working on getting him his experience. We're working on developing these players while we're in game situations. And truth is, we might not win a whole bunch of games, but just like Scott Wilson is saying right here, Let's see what the Jets look like at the end of the year. We will be a real team who can compete with anyone. And that's it. We're getting our battle scars now, man. We're getting our experience right in front of us. And just that offensive line, run blocking alone, and pass blocking for that matter, just that progress alone shows you we're working on something. This isn't just a dumpster fire like 2019. That's not what it is. This isn't 2020 when the team didn't give a shit. They didn't even care. Remember that one play when they scored the touchdown and Beckham was the only guy who raised his hands? We just scored a touchdown. Everybody just walked back to the sideline.
Yeah, there was no passion, no heart in anything they did.
Nothing. So we do have a super chat from John Rogers, and thank you, my friend. We appreciate that. Love having JD build the team the right way over years. Happy to watch losses this year. What top draft pick position do you think we need? I'm for offensive line. Well, let's say before I answer that, let me just let the chat know if you do have questions. That's kind of what this show, we're hoping that this show becomes. We want to hear from you. We'll open it up and talk about whatever, but it's really about what you guys want to talk about. So please let us know in the chat and we'll try to get to them. But getting to John Rogers' comment, what do you think, man? Do you agree? Sounds like you might agree with what he's saying overall, but what position do you think we want to draft in next year? Not to jump too far ahead, but what do you think we're looking at?
Well, the first thing you have to do is let's just readjust the wording of that and say what positions do we want to address next year. And I only say that because we're also going to have a lot of cap space, right? And we're going to be making a lot of decisions about who stays because we have a ton of guys that are eligible to leave. So we have to determine who's staying, how much is that going to cost, how much money do we have, because there's we get to see the free agency roll out first. So like in the free agency, if we sign a big time right guard, then that no longer becomes a draft need, right? So it's really about what positions are we going to address? Because I have a feeling through free agency before the draft, we might see a tight end come in. We might see a right guard come in or a center come in. We have to see what that looks like. And that gives us a little bit more information about the draft. I would love to see, though, right guard be addressed or the offensive line be addressed through the draft because I like the youth. I want an offensive line that can be together for a lot of years. So I think that if we draft high, like one of the top two picks, an interior lineman, offensive lineman, and then maybe go back in the third round and get like a center or something to develop. I would love to see things like that. And of course, we have to address tight ends. If it doesn't come in free agency, then we might have to use like a second round pick on a tight end and just get that resolved already.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's interesting too, and I really believe this is what we're seeing. We're seeing a general manager that is paying attention to the long-term opportunities via the draft. So like it just so happens that this year might be the strongest safety class in a decade. Okay. It also happens to be, by many accounts, one of the stronger tight end classes, especially when compared to last year, which I happen to like a lot of the tight ends that came in last year. But they're saying that this year might be a more robust. It's looking like it is going to be a more robust class for that position. So when you look at who Joe Douglas is taking from year to year and how he's managing his cap and his roster, it's more than likely with that in mind, paying attention to the long term. What's going to be available for us? Do I sign someone long term? Do I just give them a 1 year because I know I'm going to be able to fill it? This is something we're not used to seeing here. We're very singularly focused as Jets fans and as an organization for a long time. So I think we're going to see some addressing via that mindset, John. I think that we're going to see safety, tight end. I think offensive line is going to be something that Joe Douglas brings in every single year. We're going to see a pick, at least one on the offensive line every year. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But I will say, I think that our first round pick is more than likely going to be on an edge rusher. That's what I think. I think it's time that we see some blue chip edge rushing coming on into the team. So I think that's what we're going to see, especially seeing how important it is. Carl Lawson goes down and it's a whole different ball game. So I think we're going to start to stock that area of the team. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. I think it's edge and cornerback probably, but the cornerbacks look good. Maybe we don't need to, you know?
Well, that's what we're evaluating and determining. But I think you're right with edge because edge is, we don't know that Carl Lawson is ever going to be the same. We really don't, based on the injury. So I think that we have no choice. We have to address that and get a dominant pass rusher. It's such an important part of the way this defense is schemed. So,
yeah. And that's, it's a good point, man. What we're doing right now, in order to answer this question, what we're actually doing is evaluating the young talent on our team to see what we need to do. And that is totally different than what the Jets have done up to this point. Just take the last decade, Rex, Todd Bowles, Gase, they were all in favor of playing the vets. They barely let the young guys crack the roster. And there was a time when we had 3 cornerbacks, young ones, Clark, Nickerson, and the other dude. They were sitting there for 2-3 years, and we never even looked at them. So it's what is this? Because Trumaine Johnson was getting $15 million a year. So that's the hope, is that just like Jeremy said, we're actually seeing the guys that we want to evaluate right now. They'll get a full year, and we'll know if we need to replace them, if we need to upgrade, if we need to let them go, whatever it is. We'll have a much better idea rather than just keeping them, only seeing them in practice. So I want to say hello to Jude Jets.
yes.
You've been here. I love Jude Jets. If you guys aren't familiar with him, he has his own channel as well. He's the next big thing, man. I'm telling you, Jude is awesome. He's legit. And I love him. Don't forget to like this video. It does help us. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, that would be greatly appreciated as well. And obviously, like I said earlier, Jeremy is also a part of the Frankie from Flatbush channel, so you can give them a thumbs up as well. I'll put the link in the description. I didn't do that yet. I'll do that as soon as we wrap up here, so you have it. So Braden wants to know, do you think we'll see Cam Clark this year? Unfortunately, Braden, that's not going to happen. We put him on IR before the September 1st, timeline, deadline kind of thing. So he's done for the whole year. So 2 straight years of this guy. It's really unfortunate, man, because I got to tell you, I liked him a whole bunch coming out, and I loved that he was going to go from tackle to guard. Like his temperament is just exactly what you want. And the fact that we haven't been able to see this guy for 1 play in 2 years is unfortunate. But it's more unfortunate for him.
Yeah, it's very rare you start your career 2 years without playing, injuries, and then end up developing into a player. Like, that doesn't happen very often. Usually this is the beginning of the end, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, look, real quick, Braden says, Carl will be fine. It's just a flesh wound. Well, that's actually what he said. He said, no, this is good. This is just a flesh wound. And I would love that to be the case. The past years, Achilles have not been quite as devastating as they were in years past. At the same time, you don't know. You just don't know. It's one of those really interesting injuries that you don't know if somebody's going to be able to bounce back. Of course, we're all rooting for him, and I love that he feels that way, and his approach to everything. It's exactly what you want. He's the type of player that can come back. Again, I think it's time that we fortify that area of the team.
Yeah, it's about not taking the risk, right? We're going to because then we could look. It's never a bad problem. If we use the number 1 pick on an edge rusher who is a force, and we make a good decision in that position, and Carl Lawson comes back and he's close to what he was and starts doing what we thought he was going to do, and then you have, as Jude pointed out in the chat, JFM keeps developing and playing the way he's playing. Look, that's all a beautiful thing. So it's not like if we knew Carl Lawson was still going to be dominant, then we say, oh, forget about it. We don't need an edge. No. That's a position. Let's build it up.
That's right. Don't forget, man, teams that Joe Douglas has been associated with, their defensive line rotations, and Robert Saleh for that matter, like, they come from a background of having rotation on the defensive line, particularly on the defensive ends. So they want fresh guys, fresh legs all day, coming in, giving the starter a breather with with minimal drop off and being able to continue to play at a high level. They're going to want depth. They're going to want depth. And look, we're getting to see guys like Bryce Huff, like, we'll probably see Rashid before the end of the year and all that. Like you said, John Franklin Myers, and we brought in Shaq Lawson, who's been excellent in the run game so far and has provided a little bit of pass pressure. Hasn't made it, home yet to land a sack, but at the same time, I think he's somebody that could really flourish in this system too once it gets a little bit more settled. So, but at the same time, I agree with Jeremy. I think we're going to stockpile and edges. It's time we bring in somebody that's premier, not hoping that less than premier, do well. We want to know somebody's going to come in and do well. Yep. So Green Dog says tomorrow's game is a great opportunity for our young team to measure themselves and evaluate. And that's a great point. And it's kind of that fits nicely with what we're saying. What do you think we're going to see, Jeremy? Like as far as the main evaluation points, like who do you think is going to be most tested in this game, and how do you think it's going to end up going?
Well, I think the obvious answer for me is the rebound of Zach. I'm sorry, we can't forget it's obviously the most important position, for our future, and we need to see how he responds to last week. I'm not saying he has to have an amazing game, but he can't come out and throw 3 picks or anything like that. He has to come out, and he has to, and he has to rebound and play a lot better than he did. I think that the other thing that we look at is, again, I talked about it before. I really want to see how Bryce Hall stacks up against a guy like Sutton with a quarterback that likes to use his wide receivers and is going to throw and push the ball downfield. Eccles as well. So we're going to be really the secondary for me is going to be a big thing to look at on Sunday.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, Zach Wilson is obviously the most important thing when we're looking at a rebound or even just development. I mean, last week, when you watch that game again, number one, there was some betrayal by his wide receivers. Like, so not all those picks were errant. Like they right through Corey Davis's hands and some other stuff. So, but at the same time, there's still picks and it's still his fault on at least some regard. But so having him bounce back and settle down a little bit, like there was one play in particular where he rolled out to the right. Elijah Moore was right in front of him. And then we had, I believe it was Corey Davis a little bit deeper. And he stared at the play while they were all running. There was plenty of space from Elijah Moore. And I mean, probably 6, 7 yards of space. And he chose to push it downfield and it ended up being a pick. If he just really quickly hit Elijah Moore, there was more than enough space for him to actually have time to work and do what he does. And I think that mindset of let me hit the deeper guy, that's something that we're going to have to see him work through. Like you want the guy to be able to take the deeper shot, but when there's a higher percentage shot right in front of you and you have a guy that can make something happen with it, you want to, hey, just pull the trigger and do it and let's watch him work. And if we get 4 yards, 8 yards, whatever it is, it's better than the pick, obviously. So I think we're going to have to watch that with Zach Wilson. It's one of those things where it doesn't mean he sucks, man. As quite the opposite. We're seeing a guy who's implementing new mindsets. This is the NFL. They're going to, the windows are tighter. Everything's closer, faster, all that sort of stuff. So, but the arm talent is there. The accuracy is still there too. Most of those passes were right there, So anyway, I think that's a clear one. And I couldn't agree more about the defensive backs. I know I'm getting these texts by people who told me, months ago, I'm telling you, Brandon Eccles is going to be, and they're taking this opportunity to say, see, man, I told you. And it's like, yo, dude, I'm with you. I really am. Number one, I'm rooting for everybody on our defensive backfield. As you guys know, I'm most concerned with Javelin Guidry, who has done okay. Don't forget, he's been burned a couple of times too.
Oh yeah.
So, but he's doing okay. Like it's exactly where you would expect a guy like him to be if they're developing. And I see it. He still concerns me. But at the same time, guys, we haven't played an offense that was attempting to push the ball. this is going to be, just like Green Dog is alluding to, this is going to be the first, I think, real test of those defensive backs to see if they can hang with some legit talent, because Sam Darnold wasn't pushing it. Even though he took a couple shots, that wasn't the game plan. The game plan was Christian McCaffrey. The Patriots, they had a nice, simple, high percentage game plan for Mac Jones. So they weren't attacking the defensive backs like I think we're probably going to see in Denver. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be that's going to be a nice thing to watch. And hopefully they fare well. If they don't, it doesn't mean they suck. It just means that was the lesson for the day, Jeremy. That's all it means.
Well, it might mean, like, these are possibilities, right? If Bryce Hall struggles, that might mean, well, he's playing as a CB1 covering the other team's top receiver. It might mean he really in the future is going to end up being our CB2, is going to do fine against the second option of a team, and the cornerback is something that we still have to look for and find an elite cornerback. Or this game and throughout the year, we might find out Bryce Hall is our CB1 and we have an elite cornerback. And again, that's the whole point, right? We're evaluating and seeing what we have and determining what our needs are.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, we can't say it enough, Jeremy. Honestly, there is a difference between a development and evaluation year and just a year where you suck and have to, like, looking to next year to just gut it. You know what I mean? Like, this team sucks. That's not where we are. Even if we're losing, that's not what we're doing. And that's exciting. If you can just look at it through the right lens, it can be exciting. So Jeff Otis Brown checks in. Good to see you, Jeff. Zach and his playmakers will hopefully relax more each week and continue to improve together. Who will be the first opponent that this offense explodes on? I'll throw that to you. What do you see in your crystal ball there, Jeremy?
Well, I think the easy. I'm hoping it happens before this, but I think that Atlanta is kind of dangling out there as someone that Zach might pick apart. And on the running game, we might just ground and pound the hell out of them and do a lot of that play action and see a lot of that scheme that we've been waiting for, just like own them on the grounds, do whatever we want in the running game, be able to throw in these play action passes where we just open up holes and we see big plays and big throws from Zach to guys in single coverage. But I don't think it's impossible that I don't think we're going to open up on them, but I think that there's a chance. I have this belief. I'm kind of feeling that we might do better on Sunday than people expect. And I'm not saying that we're going to rip apart Denver's defense. I'm going to say that we might surprise and put up more points than people think and have a better offensive game than people think we're going to have.
Interesting. You know, this is where I can't quiet the homer part of me when I'm getting questions like this. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, it's this week. This is what we're going to see. Like, that's what I want to say. But the truth is that I saw progress. I saw development. I saw things that were improvements. So if I believe that's going to continue with what we're talking about, this being an evaluation and development year, we should see that for the most part moving forward. If Zach Wilson doesn't throw 4 picks last week, that's an entirely different game. If they didn't blow the whistle in the middle of us tackling somebody, you know what I mean? Like that fumble right there, I think it was in the red zone, or it might have been just outside of it. That fumble, that was bullshit. Though the other pick, he bobbled it, but nobody even checked it. So there was a lot going on in that game that it just swung the wrong way, and that happens. But if it doesn't, if it just stays middle ground or maybe even swings in our direction, guys, we have talent. We have talent, young legs all over the place. Our running backs are leg choppers. They just don't stop chopping their legs. It's like what you teach little kids, and our young running backs do that. Our offensive line is packed full of talent. Granted, Greg Van Roten is the weak link, but he's still an average guard. Like, this isn't a train wreck. It's just new. That's it. So if we see this progress continue, it could very well be this week, especially because teams are looking at us. The whole NFL is looking at us as a dumpster fire.
Yep.
They're looking at us as a dumpster fire. Denver's 2-0. Jets are 0-2. This is exactly the type of game where, I like the word you used, our offense explodes. And to go with that, Kyle Wilcox says, I don't care about defense, LOL. I've never seen an electric Jets offense. We're all looking for the same thing, aren't we? It might be this week. It might be.
Yeah. Hey, if you look at, I've said this, I'll say it again. If you look at the performance of Zach Wilson in week 1, especially the second half, so you take that Zach Wilson and Corey Davis of week 1, combine it with the offensive line performance in the running game of week 2, and just the way our defense is held up. If we put it together, that was the key phrase, right? Put it together. If we put together some of the things we flashed, it feels like a tough team to beat to me.
Yeah.
So
and
what
that's
if we?
Just it.
Yeah. So what if we put that together?
Well, Red Dog has a comment for what you just said. He says, "If the Queen, no, hold on a second.
If the Queen had balls, she would be king."
Yeah. So we can all see what it says as my 10-year-old daughter comes out here. I'll just let you guys read it. But here's the difference between the Jets and the Queen. The Queen's not trying to acquire those things. We are working on improving and putting it together. So we're actually attempting to obtain something where the Queen, she's not doing that. So it's a little bit different. I get it. And it's funny. And we always say that, like if my aunt had, she'd be my uncle. That's the way I always hear that one. But the truth is that just like Jeremy said, if you just look, we're a young team and we're trying to put it all together. Zach Wilson and Corey Davis of week 1, the offensive line and running game of week 2, we got something. And there's no reason to think that can't happen. We're a young team working it out. We're a young team. They've never played together before. Think about this. The offensive line, even though they got, the last quarter and a half together in the Carolina game, the Patriots game, that was the first game they played together from start to finish. That's it. We're one game in. And that's what we have to remember. I know we're talking about it all year. It's been 20 years. We're like, when is it going to stop? But the truth is that we're one game in with this offensive line playing with these receivers and this quarterback under this coach. That's it. One game. And so there's no reason to think that they can't piece together what they've done and continue to learn and improve, because that's what we're trying to do.
Well said.
Yeah, I know you're just joking, Red Dog. It's funny.
They get upset. Oh, no. He's taking me seriously.
Yeah, so Kyle says the quarterback school, a channel which I love, by the way. I dig into a lot of their like how they dissect certain schemes and all that stuff. They're just an excellent YouTube channel. If you guys haven't checked that out, I think you would enjoy it. The quarterback school. And he says they've been trashing our play calls. Well, I've been trashing our play calls too. So I think that's the other thing to really look at, is that while we talk about young players and knew this and knew that, don't forget, this is the first time in his entire career that Mike LaFleur is the end all where play calls are concerned. He's always had Kyle Shanahan his whole career to say he was the passing game coordinator. He can come out and go, hey, I'm seeing this. This is what I think about. And Kyle Shanahan would go, not now, or yes. You know what I mean? So as great as Mike LaFleur was, I mean, he was Kyle Shanahan's right hand for like 8 years, 7, 8 years. There's a reason for that. At the same time, when you go from, being the first mate to the captain, there's a big difference having that responsibility. And there's no reason to believe that he won't get it. He's just going to take a minute. He's seeing situations and knowing what to do and knowing his own talent and all that sort of stuff. Again, it factors into this being an evaluation year. And I'm just glad we're doing it all now, man. We're looking at everything where everybody's getting their experience right now. And we should be excited about that.
Yeah, I think he might be overthinking too a little. Like one of the things I was frustrated with is we built this team to be a run-first team. Run, make them put men in the box, make them stop the run, and then play action and make it easier for the quarterback, right? And I feel like we have deserted that, trying to outthink the opponent, right? We really haven't seen. Well, the first week is hard to say because we couldn't do anything. The offensive line didn't show up, but like against New England, that was the frustrating thing to me. It's like, why are we're able to run the ball? And this was early on in the game, early enough before we even fell behind that much, even after the first couple of turnovers. But we had already established that we were able to run the ball. Why are we not going to that? Why are we not forcing New England to stop the run first? Force them to stop us from running. Otherwise, just keep running until they make adjustments and then change the scenario. We didn't do that. And we didn't seem to adjust soon enough. We kept trying to attack. And that kind of threw me off.
Well, interestingly, though, they did try to do just that when they were in the red zone, and they ran 3 times in a row specifically because of what you're saying. I mean, we ran to get down there in large part, and then we were there and we ran 3 times, and then everybody chopped their heads off for sticking with the run that was working. Now, the play I would have ran was Elijah Moore jet sweep to the corner. That's it. It's going to score. Just get him running, hand him the ball, and let him take off toward the corner. We would have scored. It's a very high percentage play. So that's the thing. I agree with you. At the same time, there still must always be somewhat of a balance. But I think where the problem comes in is insisting that Zach Wilson take the chunks as opposed to the big play opportunities. Just throw it 5 yards, 6 yards, dunk, quick slant, all that sort of stuff. He was choosing the deep route. So I think that's one of the things what we saw. It's just
and when you get to the red zone, of course you don't keep running because now you got smaller space. So now everybody's in the box. So what I'm saying is when they were working the ball down the field running, that's when now is the moment where you do the play action and you take the shot. But definitely when you get in the red zone, anytime you get inside the 10-yard line, especially when you're in that area, you're going to have to figure out some other plays. That never works to just try to pound the ball because everybody's in the box. Everybody's there, of course. But a sweep play would have been interesting. That would have been interesting.
It would have scored.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, that's where the most space is. So you get your fastest guy running get your fastest guy running against their fastest guy. For me, it's simple, Yeah. And you should have did it on first down. You know what I mean? Just do it and see what you got. But that's the thing. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing a guy who's literally learning on the job. So Sun Moonrise 31 says, do you think it was a mistake to pair the rookie quarterback with a rookie offensive coordinator and with no veteran quarterback in the house? What do you think of the play calling offensively so far? So obviously we talked a little bit about LaFleur and the play calling prior to reading this question. But let me say this, and then I'll throw it to you, Jeremy. We have to remember that when they did all of this, when they decided, here's our coaching staff, we're gonna move on from Sam Darnold. We're gonna bring in a rookie quarterback coach. I'm a rookie quarterback with the first-time offensive coordinator. We had Greg Knapp on the staff. Now, Greg Knapp is a very well-respected. I mean, the greats in this game point to him as one of the instrumental figures. I mean, even Peyton Manning, when he just got his in his Hall of Fame induction speech, he said, "I want to thank Greg Knapp." So that's the thing. Like the way it was built wasn't exactly the way that it ended up, and look, that's what it is. And again, I want to make sure that we say that's the least important aspect of losing Greg Knapp, of course. At the same time, when we look at it for what it was, Greg Knapp was in the house. He was the balance between LaFleur, Rob Calabrese, and Zach Wilson. He was the wise sage, and we lost him. Now they went out and got Matt Cavanaugh, who's not quite as well respected as maybe Greg Knapp was. At the same time, he's been around. He's been on a lot of successful teams, and he's done some great work in this league. So I think that we're accounting for it, but I think my short answer with all of that going to support it would be, I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was a choice to do the hard work now. That's how I see it. Jeremy, how do you see it? Do you have any other thoughts on that?
I think it would be a mistake for teams who want to compete. It would have been a mistake for Chicago to do that, to have a rookie offensive coordinator and bring in Justin Fields if he now ends up being the starter. I think it would have been a mistake for New England to do it. If Trey Lance was starting in San Francisco, I think it would be a mistake if they had a rookie offensive coordinator. I think you got to look at the situation of the team. We're a team that's going to do a major rebuild, a tear down rebuild. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having an offensive coordinator that's going to develop with our quarterback. I do want to remind everybody that we have Josh Johnson still is on the practice squad, right? So he's still around. He's there in the practices, and we did get Kavanaugh. But to me, it's not as much of a concern because of our situation, because we're developing and growing and building. And let's remember, it's only been 2 games. So it's not like it's automatic. Oh, we have a horrible offensive coordinator or he doesn't know what he's doing. We just like position football, just like any other job in the world. Every new position takes development, and maybe they could develop together and make something really special.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I think one more thing I'll add to this is, like, when you look at what we're doing team wide, like with the literally starting 7 rookies, in addition to that, having 3 second-year players also starting. It's really, you can really see it if you look at it through the right lens. That's what they're doing. This is a whole young organization. They've decided we're all going to make our bones together. We're all going to do this at the same time. We're going to learn and grow as a unit. And then so anybody else that they bring on next year's draft class, any free agent, they're coming into an established situation where everyone is on the same page. Everyone is shooting for greatness, but they're doing it the slow and steady route. Like, again, I don't want to come across as somebody who's like, no, this is what I wanted. It's not what I wanted to win those 2 games. Make no mistake. I wanted to go into the stadium and root and cheer on our first win. I wanted all those things. But I also knew in the back of my brain, this one's going to be bumpy. And I think that, you know, watching them make this choice is very different than what we're used to watching as Jets fans. And that should give us some pause as far as our jumping on the team and jumping up and down and complaining, because we've never seen this before. That's the good news. We've never seen one of our teams do this before. And I think it's actually exciting when you look at it through the right lens. So let's see what else we got here, and then we'll wrap it up in a little bit. Jeremy, you got anything you want to throw out while I check and scour the
Yeah, no, I'll just build on what you were saying. You know, for 40 years, I've watched us try everything, try all different kind of strategies and different ways of doing it. It's exciting that we're trying it this way, that we're trying, because we've seen it work. There's other organizations that have done it this way, that you build through the draft, that you tear it down and you build it back up. And that's why, you know, why was Bless Austin released? Why was, why didn't we re-sign Brian Poole? I think it was just, they were stripping it down. They were just tearing it down and saying, we're going to build from the ground up. And that's why you see a lot of 1-year deals. Even in the free agency, we signed a lot of very short-term deals, because we are filling in spots, but the long-term plan is to build it, right? To build a foundation through the draft. And that's why the draft capital is so important to us.
Agreed. I think that's well said too. So Braden checks in. He says, I watched the Denver podcast yesterday, and they have completely written this game off as a win. It's supposed to be a game preview, but they talked more about their next games against the Ravens and Steelers. And that is the juice in the first bite of this burger. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys ever been up to Minnesota or Minneapolis or any of that sort of stuff, they have a specific burger. You ever been up there, Jeremy? It's called the Juicy Lucy. Have you ever heard of this?
I've heard from the Food Network from watching. Yeah, I've heard the term.
Yeah, so there's something called the Juicy Lucy, and it's really, it looks like the most boring burger. It's just a big old, it's like a ball of meat on a bun. That's what it looks like. But you bite into it, and what they've done is they've packed the center of it filled with cheese and other toppings and all. So it's when you bite it, this molten center comes out, and it's good, man. I went to a place called Hell's Kitchen in right there in in Minneapolis, and it was called the Juicy Lucifer instead of Juicy Lucy. But let me tell you, man, that's us. We are the Juicy Lucy. We're rolling into Denver, and they're already looking past us, and our team is working on putting it together. Like Jeremy was saying, week 1 and week 2, if just those two components work, we got a game. And that's what we're going to do to people this year. Dude, it's only 2 weeks in, man. We've seen teams, it looked like they were written off first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. They have 2 wins, 4 losses, and they end up going to the playoffs. It's better to win later than early. Like we've been 3-0, we've been 5-0, we've done that shit and crumbled. I'd rather see us build the team and start firing as we move forward. And I think that we're going to see a little bit better of a game this week on some really good Denver grass. Ask Frankie, he knows. But yeah, so I'm happy to hear that, Braden. Hey, go ahead and look past us. I like it. And Corey,
they've beaten the Giants and they've beaten the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's who Denver's beaten. So we don't know that they're already putting themselves up in the category of the elite teams of talking about Baltimore. Let them do that. But it's like, let's keep in mind how proven they are and how tested they've been. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
As much as I do like Teddy Bridgewater, and I do, let's not forget that Teddy Bridgewater has basically been bounced around the NFL for a reason. You know what I mean? He's a good quarterback, but all this success that we're seeing, like Jeremy just alluded to, we're talking about the Giants and Jaguars here. So with respect to them, with respect to their young teams and all that, they're teams that aren't necessarily considered juggernauts. So Denver is already thinking that we're a breeze. Let's go in there and punch them in the face, just like CJ Mosley said. And Corey Washington reminds us we are the youngest team in the NFL. This is going to take time. And I agree, man. Like, dude, there are so many real reasons why we're watching what we're watching. My daughter. So I don't know if you guys can hear that mess behind me. Please. But yeah, so let's do this before we wrap it up. Let's get some score predictions from everybody. Let us know what you think. Are you looking for a victory? Are you looking for a Jets loss? What do you think realistically? Let's not do the hopeful thing. Let's do the real thing this time. And I'll start with you, Jeremy. What do you think we're going to watch?
If you held the gun to my head, no, I can't. I am incapable of predicting a loss. I'm just incapable of doing it as a Jets fan. Like in my heart, it just won't let me do it. So I'm thinking we're gonna put it together. We're gonna surprise this overly confident team, and we're gonna beat them something like 24-27-13.
Oh, I like it. I know it's funny. I find that difficult too, man. I really do. It's like I feel like I'm putting something into the ether. I don't, obviously I overvalue my impact on such things with jerseys and all that kind of stuff. But I hear you. Like Green Dog checks in with Denver 34, Jets 17. And like John Rogers was saying, doesn't really matter if we win or lose. We just need to see improvement. And that I agree. The underlying truth is that we just need to see improvement. I want to see Zach sacked less. I want to see some real rushing yards. I want to see some effective pushing of the ball down the field. I want to see smart play calling. I want to see CJ Mosley continue his rise back to where he was. That would be great. Eminon checks in and says, Jets 27, Rocky Mountain Oysters 20. You know what a Rocky Mountain Oyster is, Jeremy, don't you?
Kind of oyster that people eat. Oh no, I'm way off, I think.
Yeah. A Rocky Mountain oyster is quite literally bull testicles.
Oh yeah. Okay, now it's coming back to me.
Just delicious.
Oh,
I couldn't put that in my mouth if you paid me, man.
No way.
What's up, Big Green? Thanks for checking in, buddy. He says 21-20 Jets. So that's kind of where that's in the same vein as what you were talking about. Jamie Nagar, hey buddy, 24-10 Jets.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. This is what I'm looking at here. And I'll do mine at the end. 26-19 Denver. How about them Jets? Let's see here. Jude Jets checks in, and glad to have you here, Jude. It's always nice to see you around. Broncos 17, Jets 10. Salmon Jets 23-17 Jets, baby. There you go. I'm with it. I know. Audition. This is his response to the Rocky Mountain Oysters thing. It's real. It's real. It's real. So Sun Moon Rise says Jets 13, Broncos 27. I hope that's not what we see. I hope that's not what we see. Liberal Irishman, what's up, buddy? It's going well. We're just kind of wrapping it up here for the day. I'm glad you checked in. Why don't you give us your score prediction for this week? That's what we're doing as we run out. I'm a summon. I don't know what that means. I'm with summon. What does that all mean? Robbie Oak says, I can't type.
I can't type.
Yeah, that's right. Matthew Cravat, your brother, says if the queen had Rocky Mountain oysters, she'd be king. There you go.
He's a funny guy.
That's good. So my prediction is that the Jets will score 24 and the Denver Broncos will score 21. I think this is the game that we turn it around a little bit and start putting things together and capitalize on the fact that they are overlooking us and looking towards the Ravens and all that sort of stuff. They think we suck. They think we're a young team that doesn't know what we're doing, but we do know what we're doing and we're working at it. So it's going to happen eventually, and I think this is the game where it happens, and I think we get our first win and take us to 2-1. But Keith Knowles, one more. Let's just do a couple more here. Keith Knowles says 16-24 Jets. I like it. Robbie Oaks said, I'm with Sun. That's what he's trying to say. Denver 27, Jets 13. God, we figured it out, Robbie. We got there.
They reversed my score.
Yeah. Liberal Irishman says this is the week we turn it around, 27-10 Jets. See, that's where I'm going. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I think we're going to have an exciting one, and that's really all I want. I want exciting, competitive football, and I'd love to squeak out a winner, and you watch everybody turn. Watch everybody turn. It's the quickest turn in the world with the New York Jets. Martin Shilton chimes in, 24-21, defensive touchdown. So with Jets, I'm going to choose Jets there. I like it. Get Mo Bob checks in. That's okay, Bob. That's good stuff. He watched your show last night. I passed out early. I was done. I didn't even make it that late. Jets 17-13 from Rise Sun. Nice. There you go. Eminon says it's going to be Quinnen Williams' breakout game. He's been doing pretty well in the run game with some pressures, but yeah, I'd like to see him hit pay dirt. I want to see some sacks or some tackles for losses. That's what I want to see. So, okay. 24. I know. Look at this. Jay Spector brings it up. I was going to say we made it through the whole podcast or still live stream without talking about Denzel Mims. Isn't that crazy? Not one comment about Denzel Mims. I love it. Well, now we got one comment with this 2-0 safety, and that's it. That's all we see. So, all right, guys. Well, we are going to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for checking in. We'll be doing this every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. in Germany, and wherever you are in between that or around that, whatever time it is where you are. But this is our attempt at connecting with the Jets fans around the world, and we love you guys being here. Jeremy, you want to say anything before we get out of here?
Thanks, everybody, for joining in. My friend Keith joined in, a college friend. I saw him before. I don't know if he's still around, but thank you for supporting. Thank you for my brother. I always appreciate the humor he brings. But everyone around the world, thanks. This is so much fun. It's so much fun to bring this to you and to provide a show for you that you can participate in. And I love the fact that we still get the guys from down under, even though it's like crazy. Probably some ungodly time right now.
He said, John Rogers says it's 1 a.m. in Australia right now.
Yeah.
That's dedication, man. Well, thank you, John, and thanks to everybody else. We do appreciate it, and we will see you. What do you say? We see him next time, huh? How's that work?
We'll see you next time.
See you next time, everybody. Have a great day.
I think he's going to be day one, a violent vertical edge setter.
He's gonna be in today. I see some ass on this. Get that mindset to put your shoulder on somebody.
Nick!